Welcome to Time Warner Cable's Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. Thank you for joining us. Our guest, Bob Dutton, member of the California State Senate. And I want to speak with you about an issue that's known as pension reform.
Oh, yeah.
When I look at the June primary, I think about Governor Scott Walker of Wisconsin beating back unions' attempts to defeat him over pension reform. I think about San Diego, San Jose, both fairly moderate cities, overwhelmingly supporting pension reform. What are the voters saying to you?
Well, they're saying they demand pension reform, and I think they're absolutely correct. Last year, when I was leader, we actually came up with a plan that was from the Little Hoover Commission.
Right.
And
who, by the way, has said that California pensions are dangerously unsustainable, a nonpartisan commission.
Absolutely. And it's nothing against the state employees. We have some fantastic state employees, and they do a great job.
It's interesting you say that. I have not heard that often.
Well, but it's true. We do. We have some really dedicated people. The problem is that the way California has been conducting itself with regards to business has created this economic crisis. Part of this crisis is us, and we cannot sustain the current pension program without a vibrant economy.
So let's talk about this, because the governor submitted a 12-point plan in December. The Republicans, in what many call a stroke of genius, submitted that very plan to the legislature.
Right.
And as we speak today, that plan is not moving.
No, and that's what it was. Last year was 19 points. This year was 12. These 12 are very similar to some of the stuff that we had proposed a year ago. Bob Huff, our leader, and his recommendation was that we should put this into bill form. We'll just adopt exactly what this is the governor of the state. We did that, and the bills are there. Now, this last week, we did actually try to force it to the floor for debate, and because we said we'll just take the governor's plan verbatim, we'll put that on the floor, let's debate it, and let's go, and it was tabled.
But let's talk about that strategy. I think about Bill Clinton and Newt Gingrich in the 1990s, a Democrat and a Republican working together. Could we not adopt a similar formula if we are in support of pension reform, where Governor Brown, the Democrat, and the leaders on the Republican side triangulate and get something passed?
Well, yeah, and that's an ideal situation, and I think that's exactly where we can go. But the trouble you've got right now in California, and frankly a little bit at the federal level, is the same kind of problem. You've got some very powerful special interest groups. Like I said, it's not the individual state employee that's a problem. Frankly, a lot of times it's their leadership.
But here's the challenge. I mean, if you look at the political landscape, you think about a recent Supreme Court decision that came out of California dealing with whether public unions could take money from non-union members.
Yes.
You know what I'm speaking of, the U.S. Supreme Court case. I mean, the tide is not going in the right direction if you're a union boss. And I'm not trying to be pejorative. I'm just saying. So if you don't accept a compromise, you could have a San Diego type plan submitted to the voters, and that would be a lot worse than what could be negotiated in Sacramento.
Well, and that's absolutely correct. That's the reason it's always been my policy. We're better to have everybody sit down at the table. Let's work this thing out. And I think that's where the hope was with Governor Brown, that he had a great relationship with the state employees unions, that he'd be able to sit down through the collective bargaining process and be able to work out a pension reform that actually would make sure that the state employees are taken care of, but also would not be such a burden on the taxpayers of California that creates a huge burden and too much sacrifice on everybody's individual lives.
So Governor Brown has said that the state pension system's a Ponzi scheme. We've heard Democrats say that we need pension reform. Sir, will we see pension reform in 2012?
Well, we were told this last week that we will have something that we're going to be able to vote on before we go for summer recess.
So you believe it's going to happen? Will it pass? I mean, will there be a compromise?
I'll believe it when I see it.
Okay. His name is Bob Dutton. He's a member of the California State Senate. My name is Brad Pomerance. We thank you so much for watching Time Warner Cable's Local Edition.